Chicky and Pete's in South Philly. First take on the road, of course, for the NFL Draft. Now, the first round kicks off tonight, 8 Eastern. I cannot wait. The first ever outdoor event. And as many of you know, this city is near and dear to Stephen A.'s heart. He started his career here, 17 years in Philadelphia with the Philadelphia Inquirer, the last 7 years as a columnist. What are your thoughts? What's it like for you to be back here in Philly for this kind of event?
Listen, everybody knows I'm a native New Yorker. And so it's hold on for a second. I got something I want to say to all of y'all. Because even though I'm a native New Yorker, you know, I've often said this. I owe so much to a guy like Allen Iverson, who was a superstar in this city. And somebody that trusted me in ways that typically athletes don't trust journalists. But what made Allen Iverson and I both great in the eyes of whomever was this city. This city is one of the greatest sports towns in America. This city knows its sports. It knows what it's talking about. More importantly, it cares. And it holds people accountable. And when you think about a sports town, I don't care what anybody said. Regardless of what I was able to do, regardless of what a lot of guys have been able to do throughout their athletic careers, if you don't have people in a community who care, and care so much to the point where it forces you to care, or it'll push you out, it elevates you, or it exposes you. And not many sports towns in America can claim it does that. Philadelphia is one of them. Everybody talks about Santa Claus and all of this other stuff, booing Santa Claus. Forget all of that. Philadelphia is one of the greatest sports towns, and while I'm here, I just wanted to say thank you to the city of Philadelphia. It's a second home to me. I love y'all, and I owe y'all so much, and I just wanted to say that. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but I've arranged for a surprise for Molly.
Oh, I did not know this.
What?
Molly swears that she never had a cheesesteak.
Oh.
That's about to change.
Oh,
that's about to change. And I have a courtesy of Pat's, Gino's, and right here at Chicky and Pete's.
You know a girl can eat.
This is a cheesesteak.
I have a question.
I love it.
Oh, no, you got to eat.
I love it. I don't have a napkin?
I have a question for Stephen A. because, you know, it's like a homecoming.
Don't judge me, guys.
Is it embarrassing at all to get smoked in all these debates by me in front of your adopted hometown crowd?
They know better. They know that you're delusional. They just forgive you because you're a very likable guy.
Yeah.
I now get it.
You get it?
Oh, my God.
Take another bite.
I get it.
Take another bite.
See, I see there are 3 of them.
Take another bite.
I see they brought 3 out.
That's right. Pat's, Gino's, and Chicky and Pete's. All 3 of them. You can't lose.
You guys aren't playing around.
That's right.
This is the real deal. Thank you to all of you guys for coming out. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we're going to be back here.
All right, just swallow it. It's all right.
I'm trying.
Suck it up.
Carson Wentz will be here. LaShawn McCoy. Malcolm Jenkins. So we're looking forward to it. And of course, thanks to Donovan for being out here as well. Are you guys going to get involved, or am I just going to be a fat kid on my own? Max? You're getting after it, too.
You don't have to tell me twice.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow. But first, I want to address something that is very important to all of us right here. It's a very dark time after several of our colleagues have been affected by ESPN layoffs. And I want to say these folks have done tremendous work contributing to make ESPN the brand that it is. And my heart also goes out not only to them, but to their families, their loved ones that are affected by this. And obviously, I want to hear your thoughts, guys.
Well, let me first say this. I've been working here since 2003. I'm honored to be a member of the ESPN family. My heart goes out to my colleagues out there who lost their jobs here at the company. They've spent years doing absolutely outstanding work, and they're responsible for what ESPN has become. And I think it's incredibly important that we all recognize that. But I also want America to recognize that a lot of these individuals that are gone are incredibly talented. And in the end, they will land on their feet because they're sensational at what they do. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with them. My heart goes out to them, but I'm incredibly confident that they will, they will resurrect their careers in some kind of capacity because ESPN has tremendous talent. We always have had. And those individuals that are gone, they will be back in some capacity, whether it's for this company or for somebody else, because they're too talented not to be.
A lot of excellent people and excellent professionals whose work product has been outstanding for so long. I concur.
No question. So they will be missed, but of course, looking forward to seeing them continue to shine on another platform very soon. But it is also, of course, playoff time, gentlemen, so we need to get into that. And we start with Russell Westbrook. And his Thunder may have gotten bounced in 5, but their short playoff run isn't deterring Russ from keeping his talents in OKC.
Everybody know that I like Oklahoma City and I love being here. And, I love everybody here. But I haven't even thought about that. I'm worried about making sure my wife is all right and moving forward with that. Everything else, it really doesn't matter at this point. And that's the most important thing right now and me moving forward.
Very sweet. Stephen A., what do you make of Russell Westbrook's comments?
I don't think they were that wise. It's not to knock Russell Westbrook in any way. He's probably going to win league MVP. He averaged a triple-double. He's been sensational this year. There's no denying that. Here's where the issue gets interesting as it pertains to Russell Westbrook. You are playing for an organization with an executive named Sam Presti, who obviously is very well respected, but there have been flaws. Whether it's due to ownership and Clay Bennett and what he has demanded, or whether it has been to his judgment. Let's put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. On the same roster, Oklahoma City had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, and Reggie Jackson. At one point in time, all of them were on the squad together. None of them were over 23. Durant and Westbrook were 23. Ibaka and Harden were 22. Reggie Jackson was 21. This is when they went to the finals. And somehow, some way, Kevin Durant walks out the door.
For nothing.
James Harden, I want to put this in perspective. James Harden is gone over $4 million. Not $4 million a year. $4 million total. You lost out on James Harden. Over a billionaire didn't want to come up with $4 million. You got that. You trade Serge Ibaka. You acquire Victor Oladipo. That didn't really work out that much because Serge Ibaka's still playing and playing well, by the way. You look at the bevy of talent that you have as an organization. I have to question why all of them left or why all of them wanted to leave and you moved some and others left. And so I'm looking at Presti and I'm looking at Bennett, the owner, and I'm saying if I were playing for an organization that lost that level of talent, I might want to stay, Max. I really might still want to stay. I'll be damned if I'm telling you. I'm going to keep that to myself because I need to see what you're going to do. Are you going to sit up here and exhaust me? Don't even have the decency to surround me with shooters? Are you going to max me out prematurely where my career is cut short because I'm only human? I can't do every year what I did this year, averaging a triple-double. I'm not saying Russell Westbrook shouldn't feel the way they feel because you want to be where you want to be. I'm just saying you got to exercise business sense sometimes and know when to keep stuff to yourself and just chill just to see what they're going to do, rather than giving them the cushion of being able to say, well, he said he wanted to stay, so I don't really have to prioritize getting him that elite talent and chasing the championship. I could just be respectable and compete.
You got to incentivize them to put some talent around you. First of all, I'm going to make a point right now that you made yesterday, since you just made a point that I've been making for a while. I mean, that Oklahoma City team is going to go down, I think, as the most talented team in the history of American team sports to never win a championship. That should have been a dynasty. You have 3 MVP caliber players eventually who are already excellent in Durant and Westbrook and Harden, plus another perennial all-star caliber talent in Serge Ibaka. And you mentioned Reggie Jackson. All on the same team in their early 20s, and you make one finals and let them all walk out the door. I've been saying that for a while. I want to bring up a point you made yesterday, I think it was. It's Clay Bennett. When you look at the issue here, a robber,
The owner.
a robber baron, or an oil baron, excuse me, Freudian slip, an oil baron who stole the team from Seattle. And what do you have going for you if you're Oklahoma City? It's not the market that's going to attract people. It's a small town. It's not New York or L.A. or Miami or a place like that. It's not a big, sexy market. What you have is the ability to pay more than the other teams if you're willing to pay a luxury tax. The way the NBA is set up, it's that if a small market is willing to spend money, they can keep the team together because these guys can make more money there than elsewhere. And he has been unwilling to do it. He's cheap. And because he's cheap, Oklahoma City doesn't have a squad. So when Russell Westbrook comes out and says, this is where I want to be, to me, Stephen A., that doesn't cost him anything. He didn't come out and say, I guarantee you I'm never going to leave Oklahoma City. He said, this is where I want to be, and I believe he's telling the truth. Now, the fact that in a couple of years, I believe he's going to want to get out to L.A. or someplace like that.
It should be L.A. or New York.
Right. It's because the owner's cheap. It's a bad owner. An excellent GM in Sam Presti, the mistakes notwithstanding, because Presti didn't get any shooters for him this year, but when you look at the talent Presti's identified, it's amazing. But a cheap and bad owner, and therefore a bad place for Russell Westbrook in the long run.
Important point to point out here. We all know that I'm absolutely disgusted that the superstar that is Kevin Durant decided to go to a 73-9 team and jump on that gravy train. That ticks me off. But having said all of that, let me say this. Here is a moment where we have to be fair to Kevin Durant and possibly let him off the hook in this regard. So much has been made about what the relationship was with Russell Westbrook. That's Kevin Durant's fault because you never called him and went to see him to say goodbye. And you brought that shrapnel of criticism in your direction because you brought up that skepticism by handling it the way that you handled it. But the interesting part about Kevin Durant is now we have to sit here and say, Sam Presti, Clay Bennett, how much did you have to do with Kevin Durant walking out the door? Because if we're sitting here and noticing that Harden and Ibaka and Jackson and others are gone, could you imagine what Kevin Durant noticed? These are the kind of things that we have to pay attention to, because in Golden State, we have a situation where Joe Lacob and those boys, Steph Curry ain't going nowhere, Klay Thompson ain't going nowhere, Draymond Green ain't going nowhere.
It looks like a wise move.
The fact of the matter is, if you're an owner of an NBA team, a lot of times that's a vanity play. In other words, you're not always going to try to optimize your profits every year because, first of all, the equity, the whole league becomes more valuable. So your franchise, these guys buy it for a couple $100 million, sell it for a couple billion. That's happening. And also, for some, it's a vanity play. They're rich guys. This is their toy. They get to have a toy. Clay Bennett is treating the Oklahoma City Thunder primarily as a business. Now, you may say there's nothing wrong with that. It's his right to optimize profits, too. Well, that's fine. But when you're being compared to other owners, and I bring up Dan Gilbert, and I don't think he's a very good owner, but you're right, he is at least willing to pay the luxury tax in Cleveland. You're being compared to other owners who are willing sometimes to not optimize profits that year in order to give that town a winner, because they know in the long run they're going to sell for multiples of what they bought it for. That makes you, relative to the other owners, a bad owner.
Here's a simpler way of putting it. You have some owners who really, really want to win championships. And you have some owners where it would be nice, but what I really want to do is just be in the picture while also monitoring my dollars. If I'm competing every year, even if I don't win, I'm in the argument. Therefore, I've satisfied my constituency, my fan base.
I sell out the arena every night.
Real quick, because we have to go to break, though. But on that point you just made, how about Russell Westbrook? Does that at all make you think him wanting to stay, that he doesn't necessarily care that much about a championship?
Well, here's the deal. What Russell Westbrook eventually is going to be forced to look in the mirror about is, you do, first of all, no one would ever question his effort.
We know his heart.
And his heart.
Of course.
But you do have people who believe he prioritizes numbers as well as everything else. So now that you've accomplished league MVP, because he's going to win that, and you was a scoring champion and all of this other stuff, what else is there left to do individually? At some point in time, we're going to sit up there and say to Russell Westbrook, all right, bro, now it's time to win.
Look,
don't ask him that.
Oscar Robertson, one of the greatest players ever, didn't get a chip until Kareem showed up and he got one. You know, I mean,
but he doesn't want to be in that conversation.
Russell Westbrook had Kevin Durant for 8 years.
Yep, that's true. There's no doubt about it.
All right.
We'll take a break from basketball. When we come back, of course, we're in Philly for the NFL draft. The Eagles found the quarterback of the future last season after taking Carson Wentz with the second overall pick. So what can we expect from Philly in the NFC East? East, and Booger McFarland has strong comments regarding some of the controversial figures in tonight's draft. First take on the road in Philly.